Okay, we're getting ready to go live, and I am aligning the universe. I am connecting all of the streams. So if you're seeing this, then it's working. I can see that it's starting to go out on Facebook Live. So hi, everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday's association chat. We're going to get started in just 1 minute. I'm going to continue to make sure that all of the connections are being made. And isn't that just the way that life is? All right. And while we're getting ready, here we go. While we're getting ready, why don't you introduce yourselves, tell everyone where you're from, where you're tuning in from. All right. And I see these things are happening. Lovely. Hi, Aaron. Hi. Of course, John's here, our guest of the day. Joan. Yes, there's so much happening, so much happening. And now even more is happening because it is 2:00 Eastern time. And welcome, everyone. Welcome to Association Chat, your weekly online discussion for the association community, where we warm ourselves by the virtual fire with the topics of the day, welcoming thought leaders and trailblazers alike to join up in this online home for the community. I'm the host and producer of Association Chat, Kiki L'Italien, and I want to give a shout out to our wonderful sponsor, Fontiva. It's the AMS for innovation. I want to thank them for their ongoing support for Association Chat and the community that we have grown here. If you're on Crowdcast, you can click the little call to action button to check out Fontiva. They have this really nifty blog for the association community there. And if you're listening to this later on iTunes, you can just visit fontiva.com, FONTEVA.com. For this episode of Association Chat, we are talking with the big kid himself, John Chen. He is the CEO of Geo Teaming. And this guy, let me tell you, totally amazing. He's going to connect in just a second. He's also the author of a book called 50 Digital Team Building Games. He's fun. He's a friend, and now he's here with us today. I see you, John. That's fantastic.
Hello, Kiki.
Hello. So John is here with us today to talk about using drones at events. He wants you all to know what you need to know right now. So John, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you on Association Chat.
Well, thank you so much. Of course, we met through, how many other event meetings, resources around the world for what I normally do, which is team building. And we added this new element of drones this year. And it's really been a fun ride, I guess, is for lack of any other term.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I go to different conferences, I go to different meetings, and the thing is that at some of them I see drones being used, at some I don't, but it's increasingly a thing where I see them being brought in, and I'm always curious. They're always drawing attention. People always kind of gather around and are trying to figure out what's going on. So I have a lot of questions for you today, and I wanted to get started off with just a very basic question, which is, there's a lot that's happening with drones. How are drones being used at conferences today? Because there are multiple ways, right?
Yeah, so here, I'll start off with my own personal experience, which is in January of this year, I surmised that actually one of the most powerful things that we do in a team building event is make a video at the end, which has, smiling people shots and videos. And we're just like, how much better would this video be either when it opens or it closes with this incredible drone shot? Because we have these large events, we have events that are anywhere from 20 people to over 3,000, and we're just like, this would definitely be a unique aspect. So if you're going to take this up, I mean, the number one thing is I love somebody else said, you just don't walk up and buy a drone and fly it at an event. That's not really a good idea. So you got to really practice these things, right? It's like right, this multi-level video that you create, right, took practice, and it still takes
Right.
practice. You tinker with this thing virtually every time that you're on air, right?
Well, and I think that, so something you mentioned is something I wanted to ask you about, which is, and honestly, when I asked online, that was the immediate, those are the questions that people really have. A lot of association executives and meeting planners who are watching right now are saying, okay, the rules, the regulations. I have people who are concerned about when and where I'm able to use these things. What's the story with that?
Well, and you should be. So let me see if I can give like the very short rundown. And this is not all inclusive, right? And of
Mhm.
course, consult somebody professional or your FAA guidelines. But I mean, that's where it starts. Is first off, is every time somebody says, "Hey, John, would you drone my event?" And I'm like, I go and there's two apps. Either Before You Fly. Also, another app I like is Hover, and they basically create maps geolocated around you are. First says it says the FAA allow you to do so. And there's different marks, which is like National Park Services is a complete no-no. Don't ever do that. That's against the law. We will see you later when they catch up to you. But other places have some gray areas, which is if you just make one or two phone calls to the local nearby airport, you're totally fine.
Yeah.
So that's the first step. But then after that, in events business, you really have to look at the local laws and the privates. And this is all so new that there are different guidelines around the other places. So even if the FAA says it's okay, it still may not be okay because of either the private location, the state laws, or the park laws, or something else.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is like, and actually, let me see down here in the live attendees. So that's the thing is that a lot of people are concerned about what's the protocol for could anybody just bring a drone? And what if they clear it with the event space, but they don't clear it with the person holding the meeting? Technically, if they're outside and they've cleared it with the airspace there, or they've cleared it with the event space owner. I mean, what are the rules? Like, I feel like I don't know. As a meeting planner, if I saw somebody running around with a drone, I don't know how I'd feel about that if I hadn't cleared it. And so is that, I don't know.
Well, and the key that's with a drone, right, is because it has a camera. And because it also
Right.
has a camera, it can also be live casting. And so there's not only questions of safety and airspace, there's questions of content and who owns the content. So let me see if I can go on to another page. Now, the what I would err on is ask as
Yes.
many people as you think possible, right, to give you an okay, even if they brush off and they just say okay. And so I'll give you a recent one is like not only did I clear FAA space, then I cleared the local that I was on a hotel property, right? And then I also cleared the meeting planner who was inside of that part, right? And then we also made sure and let some of the participants know, right, knowing that we're going to do a drone shot. If you choose, hopefully Joan will give me 10 points for this, that we ask people if you're not comfortable being on a video that might be shown somewhere else, just don't step outside, step off to the side, right? And so
Yeah.
giving people choice, I think, is one of the most important things with that. And so that you're trying to make as many people as happy. Now, in other events, you can shoot, but most likely you might get the shot, but you're probably going to make somebody not very happy. And then later on, if security and other things do catch up to you, then you got to deal with that. Is basically that. So I would err on the side of caution always.
So earlier you said something that caught my attention, and you said if they come to me and they say, "John, I want you to drone my event," is that how they say it? Is that like actually something that people say? And I'm like, what does that mean? What does it mean to have you drone an event?
Well, I love this one. All right. So I have a really good friend, and he's in a barbershop quartet called Upward Bound in the Fifth Dimension, right? He's actually one of the first who kind of got me beyond my team building part. And they're a barbershop quartet, right? But they're the official
Yeah.
barbershop quartet for Seafair, our largest, 250,000-person festival here where the Blue Angels fly. And he came and he goes, "I'm going to Anacortes for a nonprofit charity event. Will you come join my band?" Right? That's how exactly how the
My
request
band.
went.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're like, I started posting on Facebook, what do barbershop quartets and drones have in common? I don't know, but watch this weekend. And so we actually did some Facebook Live, but more importantly is that we put together a video, which was like a quote unquote rock video, but with a barbershop quartet, completely shot with an iPhone and a drone. That's it. So I don't know,
That's
does
so
that help?
fascinating. Yeah, it does. I mean, and so different ways that people can use drones. They can think about ways that they're doing site visits ahead of time, maybe to show people, back home, what the venue looks like, and give them sort of an aerial tour. They can give a feeling for, what the surrounding area is. They can do marketing videos, right, and promote it ahead of time to say, look at this incredible space. What are some other innovative things that either you've seen, you've done, or you've thought about that people could, use drones to create?
Oh, well, can we go to slide deck then? And I'll show you two little examples.
Yes.
Okay. So let's see. So one, as you can tell, right, on the marketing side for a drone, it's a very visual piece. And so that's one of its key elements. Let's see, I got to make sure I know C10. Okay, so let me show you this. And it'll take me 1 second to share. Okay, let's see if my video is working.
Okay. And anyone who's listening to this later on the audio podcast, I just want you to kind of imagine the magic and the beauty that we're about to see.
Okay, so it looks like screen is sharing. All right, so one of this is one of the first drone viral videos that went out, and so this is why drones, I think, are so powerful, is because they give a perspective that none of us get to see. And so what those who aren't seeing in, oh, hey, Chuck Fazio's in, oh my goodness, is that this drone is about to take off, and this drone flies through a fireworks show, which led us all to questions who we watched this going, how did your drone not blow up? I mean, do you see how close this is?
Oh my gosh.
So for those who aren't seeing, it's like literally it feels like you're in the center of the explosion, and somehow this guy flew a drone through this fireworks show and survived. I don't know if it was all skill. I'm pretty sure some of it was luck.
All right.
In that way. And if you have this footage like this of this fireworks show and you compile it into next year's show, right? I'd like to go. So I think that's one, right? So let me see if I can go on to another one then.
Hey, I want to give, I see visually, some of you may be wondering who this crazy man is here. This is Chuck Fazio. Chuck, hey. But can I hear you? I can't hear you. There we go. Yeah, all right. So he's getting connected.
Okay, well, this one is for Meetings Today Live, a shout out. So speaking of Kiki, I think this is actually one of the most powerful examples of what could be done. This was actually a recap of a meeting, and it could obviously be done to promote future meetings. And this one was one of the biggest use of drones by an industry partner. And so, again, we got permission from 4 out of the 5 locations in beautiful Tucson, Arizona. I gave them all the footage. The guys from Visit Tucson's were blown away. Like, it was thousands of dollars of videography for free. That were not free, but it was included as part of their sponsorship.
It's like, wow.
And so I'm just going to show you 60 seconds of this video, right? And at the end of this, tell me how much more you want to go to Tucson. So here, I'm going to hit play now.
And is there a way that we can get the link to this that I can put in the show notes for anybody who's watching on the podcast?
Absolutely.
All right.
There we go. So see, I don't know if the volume will come through a little bit too. Oh, and know that this was not the release version because we use this particular music. This is just our own personal version.
I think this sounds a little spotty. I think the connection's not so great, but I love what I'm seeing. And so we're seeing an outside view. We're seeing the aerial shots. We're seeing people in the room. So it's like a combination of what the experience is to be there.
Yeah, no, hopefully the audio got better there, but it sounded better on my side.
Yeah.
Okay, so and you had creative uses, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking for creative uses, and everybody
Oh,
say
can you still hear me,
hi.
Kiki?
What's that?
Oh, now I lost Kiki's audio. Hold on.
All right. So Chuck Fazio is here with us today too.
John,
And hi, how are you? And
Chuck?
you guys know each other.
how could you not
Um,
know John Chen, right?
yeah.
Chuck, aren't you on tour right now? Where are you on tour? Are you actually back home?
I'm in Chicago. I'll be home tomorrow for the first time in a month, so I'm excited about it. So I've been listening, and John's been giving some wonderful information. But just to go a little deeper on one of the first questions you had is to who can fly.
Right.
Only somebody who holds an FAA 107 license to be a professional drone pilot, and I'm going to show you what one of those looks like right now.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
those are the only people who can legally do this. You can't have somebody say, well, I'm just going to give it to you. Like if your regular photographer says, oh, I've got a drone. No, that's going to be very bad for him and very bad for you. So you need to make sure that your guy has, or your girl or whoever has a 107 license. Now, within that, as John was saying, there are a lot of other rules and regulations. The most important of which are that you can't fly over people. So if you have this big outdoor reception,
Yeah.
you can't be flying the drone over anybody. The problem that I'm finding right now, and this is something that I really tried to head off a couple of years ago, because I had this sort of license before anybody could get this. Previous to this, you had to be a licensed private pilot, which I am, and it was a 333 FAA exemption, which I had. And at that point, I said, you know what? What's going to happen in this industry is that you're going to have a lot of dumb people getting these drones and flying them into people, and once that happens, the special event, the venues are going to close this down, and that's what's happening right now all over the country. You can't.
Yes.
I was just in Boston and wanted to fly the drone, and the Boston facility said no. Now with that, there's the Baltimore facility, and the Baltimore facility says that the client during the time they're here owns the facility. They're responsible for everything. In which case, you can make a case to fly. There's Orlando, which is somewhere in the middle, and I've worked with Yulita and the folks in the Orlando, the Orange County, to come up with sensible rules and regulations done by pilots who have demonstrated an ability to fly indoors, which is a different animal than
Right.
flying
Okay.
outdoors when you've got the
Very
satellites
different.
helping you fly. Okay, indoors. So the problem is that anybody who has the license, can say, "Oh, I've got the license, I can go in there," but they're wholly incompetent to fly in indoor spaces. So there's a whole lot of problems going on now, and the industry, IAVM, and our partners in the meeting planning industry really should come together and develop sensible rules that qualified pilots can follow. Some of those qualifications would be that you've got to have a minimum amount of indoor flying hours, because that demonstrates competency. And when you're in a trade show, you're not going to, beam somebody with 4 spinning pieces of knives. And I don't really see that has helped. So, John, I think that the legacy of being with Kiki right now is that perhaps we can get together and sort of approach these people, if you haven't, and I apologize if you have, to try to really make it work. Because as you've seen by John's excellent work, and John is known as one of the best, that the drone gives you such an amazing platform to take pictures. I mean, holy moly, the aerial. I mean, I've taken stuff outside the Orange County Convention Center, flying into the big logo in the front of the building that just takes your breath away. So for some of these venues to blanketly refuse to have a drone inside is bad for the client. And sensible regulations where drones are operated by demonstrated competent pilots are the future. I'll take
So I have a question over here in the chat window, and thank you. I see it, Amanda. And I also, so several things have come up that I want to talk a little bit more about that you said there. So Amanda says, it seems like if you're going to want drone video of your event, you're going to be hiring someone who only does that, like you would hire a photographer or a videographer. And John, I see that you respond to her, yes. So what do you guys have to say about that? Is that true? So yes?
I'll give a short version too, and I'll let Chuck do some color commentary, which is like you can hire somebody who has multiple skills, but they definitely have to have the skills for the type of shot that you want, right? So in this case, like some of the work that I've done drone work and I've done on the ground video work. And so it has to be mutually exclusive. But like on the indoor part, like I've only flown indoor really once as part of an event. And again, I talked through the whole thing with them. We flew with no people inside, no people. So, and what I did with the shot is I used the empty stage, which had about 100 singers on it later, to meld in from an empty stage from this unique viewpoint into the 100 singers into it. So that was a safe usage of that. But again, Chuck and I are like pioneers in this part. There's no rules, but there's only guidelines for people like us to, based on our experience, to try and do it safely. Right, Chuck?
Yeah. You know, not to seriously, not to toot my horn here, but I have shot video for decades. I'm, from what I told, a pretty accomplished still photographer, and I've been a professional drone pilot for a couple of years. So I would be the one guy who could do it all. But to answer the specific question, you do not, let me be very clear on this part. You do not want to have your photographer say, "Oh yeah, I got a drone." That potentially could start an FAA bad storm. I've learned my lesson not to say orca stuff. Really bad storm. You want to make sure first and foremost that somebody says we've got a drone, shows you that thing, number one. But it also goes to piloting competency. You need to ask somebody, and you need to see the log, because most of these drones, like the DJIs that we fly, you know, log all your hours. So it's like, all right, I need to see your hours, because if something bad happens. Now, with that too is designing, like John said, methods to fly. For instance, in a trade show, you cannot fly over people, but you can carve out a corridor on the side and behind,
yes.
where you can fly, you know, that way looking in. The other thing that you can do is and what we do is, I got a fishing rod and I tie that line around that drone. So God forbid anything happens, you know, that drone's not going any further than I can yank it back. Okay. So a competent drone pilot, you know, will understand some of these dynamics and create a safe flying situation for everybody. One thing that John also said, that, you know, you can call the local airports and let them know you're there. Yes, it's actually an FAA requirement that you be in contact. However, also, depending upon where you are, you actually have to call the FAA and get a NOTAM, notice to airmen, filed that there will be drone activity within a certain, you know, a quantifiable distance from that airport. So there's a lot of things that you need to do. Now, this is why the drone is an aircraft. Let's get that straight. Most importantly, it is not a toy. It is not a flying camera. According to the FAA, the drone is a little aircraft. And that's why previous to the 107, the only people that were allowed to fly these things professionally were people like me, who were licensed pilots, because we understood airspace. We understood helicopter patterns. We understood the altitude restrictions. We understood where we were in relation to everything else.
Right.
You run a great risk of hiring somebody with a drone who doesn't know any of these things. And the last thing you want complicating your life is an FAA enforcement action.
Well, can I bring up, there are a couple of questions here that I have that I want to address. And one of them has to do with the illegality of drones in the DC Metro. I mean, a lot of associations are based in the DC Metro area.
Let me say right now, that is the biggest no-fly zone. I am a cleared Secret Service, cleared TSA, cleared pilot to fly a fixed-wing airport within the federal restricted zone. I tried to get a waiver to fly a drone around the Gaylord. Now, I'm already cleared by the Secret Service to fly a big airplane around that area. They shut me down immediately, and the reason being was they don't want to see any drones flying, because somebody sees a drone flying, they're like, oh, I can fly my drone. Now, the other thing is that the software that we use to fly these drones have a built-in restriction, so it will not even let you start that thing up in that area. So that is the ultimate no-fly zone. John?
So can I ask if there is a place, John, Chuck, if you guys are aware if there's a place online that has the like comprehensive view of current laws and rules for different areas around the country? Is there a link that we can go to and find that kind of information out?
Like I said, I think, well, there's two elements, and I'm pretty sure Chuck is going to show them, right? Chuck, I know you use something like Before You Fly, but here, I'm going to hold it up on screen. Yeah, and so this is an app here. I'm showing my iPad right here. If I'm about to fly somewhere, I'm going to hit continue. By the way, I was just in Oregon, right? And Oregon had these massive fires started by a jerk with fireworks. I mean, it is the saddest thing you've ever seen. But then people made it worse by flying. And I have actually heard in another fire scenario where a drone user shut down 30 fire flights that were dumping water or dumping, chemicals, retardant on the flights because a drone pilot did not follow the regulations. So this has led the FAA to put this new piece here: disasters, hurricanes, unless you're sanctioned by somebody who's helping the effort, you may not be helping. So, and I think they can be a great help. I think these like hurricane scenarios, like especially right in Florida, like if I was in Puerto Rico right now, if I could find a way with the tools I had to help, I would definitely do it. Now, inside of here, it just goes, what are you going to do with this? So it says, how high will I fly? By the way, the limit is below 400 feet. That's the current FAA limit. How far will I fly? Well, I'll say between 400 yards. But a drone, people ask me all the time, can have a range of up to 3.5 miles if there is no things in there. But there's another requirement that Chuck is alluding to, which is you have to keep visual sight of that. And at 3.5 miles, trust me, you cannot see this drone. And then how long will I fly here? So let's say I'm going to fly for an hour. So, and a battery lasts about 20 to 28 minutes, depending upon the type of drone that you're flying. So now if I go to more status information and I hit the map here, this is the most important part. Kiki, you asked for a view. Mm-hmm. As soon as my map comes up, oh, and of course I'll hit internet now. Let's see if I hit the planner. You can get a map, and it has basically circles for every single airport that you're on. Oh, here we go. And it will tell you, again, anything within 5 miles of a major area. Another is a temporary restriction. Like we have major stadiums here for our sports teams, and anytime a major game goes on, there's a 24-hour restriction that you can't fly around here. So again, this is kind of like a small version near me. And again, this shows you all the different kind of heliports and airports, and all these other ones have a radius that if you're trying to fly.
This is incredibly scary, actually.
This is why you hire a licensed drone pilot who understands all that and keeps all that transparent from you. See, the biggest issue, as John said, you need to be 5 miles from a towered airport and 3 miles from an untowered airport. There are a lot of airports that don't have a control tower, but those guys are easy to find. The bigger problem in cities are heliports. You've got heliports all over the place, and those are things that you've really got to be careful with. So this app that John's showing you, the Before You Fly, gives you a good indication of where you can and can't fly. Now, most major cities are problematic. There's no question that they're problematic. But yeah, again, not to be redundant, this is not for amateurs. I mean,
well, and honestly, I mean, so as I was preparing for today's show, I was reading about different ways that drones are being used. I was talking about the different ideas about the fly-through facility tours and things like that. And there was some conversation about the way that exhibitors might one day be able to just bring people to their different booths and things, and having some sort of direct it's a more personalized connection. Now, I don't know what kind of rules or regulations would be connected with that, but it made me think about the idea that if there's already concern, and it seems, it's a fair concern that they're being used outside and there's potential danger. I mean, anybody can go out and buy a drone, right?
Yeah, so anybody can go out and buy a drone and fly a drone. That's absolutely correct. That's right. Why,
as a recreation, I think, Chuck, is the key point here too is So while Chuck is erring definitely on the side of like for a professional and an event,
Right.
right? There are some serious things, and that's what we're talking about here in the events industry. But as a recreational pilot, if you're doing something, number one, I think is not getting paid for it and learning, just trying to learn about this in the field. You, Kiki, could go out and buy a drone, right? And learn how to fly it because, and I actually encourage this. I actually have a very strong opinion.
I kind of want to get one.
They're great.
So, you know, there's
I'll let Kiki borrow my drone anytime. So, no, the key here is that there's not enough women in drones either. There was a great article that was put out, especially after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That there were not enough women pilots and not enough women engineers in drones. And I think it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah. And I want to take that on. If I were to take that on, where would I go to get that kind of information? Where would I go to learn? Where do you go to get the, established and to get the credibility that you need and the certification?
You've got a number of great resources. The Professional Photographers Association, National Press Photographers Association. The FAA actually has their websites that are devoted to it. The best thing to do, like any other thing, is to find somebody, and John, who already know this and let them mentor you through it. You're going to have to learn a little bit about being a pilot to take that license, to take that test. But actually manipulate. Oh, wait, I got something great. Hold on.
All right. While he's doing that, some of the resources that I found, right, I mean, YouTube videos is like one of the most powerful learning, vehicles on the planet.
So I don't go anywhere without Seymour.
Look at you guys.
I don't have a name for my drone yet. I'm actually taking names, but this entire package is what he's showing. Go ahead.
Right. So now listen, I've had drones that cost $6,000 and I've lost drones. They've flown away and have never come back. And that's bad.
No.
So now I fly this one. This is the Mavic Pro. And it costs about, I don't know, with all the stuff, about $1,200. But like John just showed you, it fits in here. I am not going to tell you that I take this to Cuba all the time. But look, I know what to do. I know where to do it. I know what the risks are involved. When you're bringing this massive drone, it makes a lot of, it has a pretty big footprint. When you take your shot and then you go like this, and you put it in here, you're having minimal impact on everything. So this is a drone. This is now here's something interesting, if I could. When I was working with the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, their rules were, the drone couldn't be any heavier than 55 pounds. So I said, Yolita, do you know how heavy 55 pounds is? Pick up a bag of sand. You really want that thing 30 feet in the air dropping? I said, this is all that should be allowed inside a venue. This will get you everything that you possibly could. I am a photographer first and foremost. So when I tell you that the picture out of here is of exceptional quality, and quite frankly, look, as long as you don't fly this into somebody's head, the chances of it really causing a lot of problems are minimal. They really are. So, this is why somebody said about 2 years ago, I created the National Indoor Drone Photographers Association that went nowhere because I have.
Is it still an association?
Well, look, I do a lot of projects, as you know, and some of them that have legs, and I wish I knew John back then, because the two of us would have killed on this. And what I wanted to do, what my plan was to work with the venues to come up with sensible regulations that will allow the client, to have the benefit of the drone, and also for the venue to know that the people flying in there had been certified indoor drone pilots and had a certain amount of competency. So we didn't have to ban all drones. We just made sure that the people flying them in venues were competent.
So I feel like I need to do the things necessary to be able to get a teeny tiny drone and like for association chat, be able to go into conferences and stuff and be able to do stuff from, that's what I kind of want. I don't want to like not to market for them, but for association chat to sort of get some good shots and review. Now, here's my problem, because I know me and I know I can get into trouble. And what I can imagine is that I'm going around with my drone, happy-go-lucky, thinking I've got everything all safe and secure, and I get somebody saying that I've got, got personal footage of them, or, running it into somebody, or like, I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure I would get into trouble. And so, I mean, how liable am I? Like, how much trouble could I get into? And you know me, what would I need to be on the lookout for? And what about meeting planners who are worried about people like me?
John, do you want to go?
Chuck, let's try and do the worst case scenario, since you and I know them, and then let's do the best case.
Adrian here. She says,
I know,
poor scary thing. Adrian, we're just keeping it real here. Go ahead, John.
So sure, let me tell the worst case scenarios, right? And then because I'd like to end on the best case scenarios about how you might, Kiki, do something like that, but do it correctly. Okay. Or like, and again, the answers for correctly are still there, but like, worst case scenario was in Seattle, actually was the first person who was charged for flying a drone incorrectly. He crashed into somebody during the Pride Parade, right? And injured somebody.
Yeah.
And so he was illegally flying the drone, and they did charge him. So that to me is like one of the worst case scenarios. Right. I don't know, Chuck.
Yeah. No. Let me just to back up, Kiki. You can't do what you just suggested unless you have
one of those.
This thing. Okay.
Right.
So you can't.
No, I do believe. Wait, Chuck, I do have some unique scenarios where I think she can, but let me see if they're actually plausible.
Unless you are doing it strictly for fun. It has to be strictly for fun. So
nothing association chat.
No.
Even though it's fun.
No. No.
Okay.
Even though you're not technically getting paid, you're not doing it for fun. You're doing it for furthering your business. So I'm sorry, you have to hit the buzzer on you. No.
But what if I went to another conference? I wasn't reporting on it for association chat, but it was to my private Facebook or something like that. I was sharing.
No, it's got to be just for the thrill of flying. And the other thing, I think you can't fly over people. So to do what you're suggesting won't work in itself, because that's what happened with the thing John's talking about. The dude flew over people. I see drone people flying over people, and I go ballistic. That's like unbelievably dangerous.
So what is this thing that I'm running into about ideas, you guys, where people are talking about one day the exhibit hall having these drones flying back and forth and leading people to the booths?
Oh, so here, wait. So Chuck, I do have two cases where I think this might be one of them is much smaller. So there's something called FPV, which is called first person view. And they have lots of tiny drones that they can fly, but you would have to fly them in a control netted area so that if the drone went out of control, it would crash into the net and not into a person. And the spark was actually released in a cage just like this. So that's a plausible scenario that you were like making drone racing for fun. But another thing, though, exactly the customization piece you were talking about, there was a cool music festival. And they actually took music selection from people. It actually located where people were, and it flew a drone stereo over them with their music selections while waiting in the line to get into the festival.
Oh, wait a minute. There is one provision, and that is the people that you would fly over have given permission for that to happen. Okay, so in this scenario, potentially, and it could be passive permission, just like in regular shows where it says, by coming here, you allow us, fill in the blanks. Now, with respect to just shooting a trade show, I said you can't fly over people. I didn't say you couldn't fly with people on either side, but directly under the drone. And that's why you can carve out a path like down the center of the aisle. And then that's why with my technique of attaching a fishing line to it, that will prevent it from going side to side. And if it, for some reason, ever does get out of control and starts drifting, well, you've got a handle on it.
So how expensive is it to go and get the license that you need, and also how much is it going to cost me to be able to create cool footage using a drone for association chat?
So yeah, so Chuck, let me do the part here too, because I was ready for this. So the old version, this was a Phantom 4, right? It's bigger than my head, right? And this was the drone I originally flew prior to this. And just to show what the technology, I'm just going to give a little walking tour. So this part is a cover. This is a gimbal lock.
Yeah.
So this makes sure that the gimbal, which is probably the most expensive piece on side of here, right, stays protected. But we take this off, and just to go through, this is the procedure. So I know Chuck was doing this super fast, but I just want to show you because this part is really fun. This is kind of like a Robotech. So 2 arms forward, right? And then if you come over here, these 2 arms, right, swing out. And that's it. And now he's saying, yes, there's a drone. And so one of the other things that we were talking about on this drone, right, while flying indoors, is that there are sensors and cameras here on the bottom as well as the front. So this is a tour that I do with a lot of people. This is the part, like, technically when avoidance is on, if this was to hit a wall, it actually can't hit a wall. It will recognize a wall for the most part. Again, it's not foolproof, but it will do that part. And then what Chuck is showing you too is the second part that comes out of there is a controller. And this controller, right, just pops out and you stick your phone in it. And the phone becomes a screen in a way that like has a special app on it that controls the drone and allows you to do all these items inside of here. And that setup, again, is about $1,200. Also, in addition to some of those items that he's pulling out here, is like this is probably one of the most important items. This is the second and the third battery. So he probably got this too, which is we can fly to about 60 minutes of not continuous, but total flight time before recharging.
Huh.
And accessory that we came here, which I really like about this, is it didn't have it in the other one. This thing will actually take 3 of my 4 batteries. I could put them all on. It will charge them sequentially without me having to change the charger. This was actually a new feature from the Phantom that I couldn't do. And so that whole setup, yeah, it does cost about $1,200. You can also get it used because there's plenty of places around where someone flies like 3 times. They're afraid, like they had a bad experience or something like that, and then or they just don't fly anymore. The guy I just recently bought was a licensed RC pilot, and he just found that he doesn't like flying drones compared to fixed wings. So I thought Chuck would be proud of that.
Well,
so there's a little tour of the drone.
Thank you. So say a meeting planner is walking through inside, and they don't know that there's anyone that's going to be flying drones, and they see a drone flying around. Nobody else is walking around yet, but they see this drone flying around. So what are the questions they need to ask? What are the things they need to be looking into?
Whose drone is it?
Whose drone is it?
Are they certified?
Are they certified?
What's the goal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think we should be on the other side of this. The meeting planner should know. And the meeting planner should have a specific goal associated with this shot or flight. And I think if they have that, then what they just need to do is actually worry the other part, which is to try and alert attendees. Why is a drone flying around on this event?
Well, and with what I'm concerned about is that if the more recreational users who are out there, the more of a chance I would feel like you can run into, somebody who's just sort of wandering into your space, especially when it's outside or somewhere that's connected, who's not really attending the meeting. They are using it for recreational purposes, but it's still causing potential trouble for, making the meeting planner nervous. Who knows if it's like, somebody who says that it's a casual, like a recreational user, but it's somebody trying to get competitive information for scientific associations. Like, I'm imagining all kinds of trouble.
Yeah, if you see a drone flying around and you don't know whose it is, you need to figure out quickly what's going on. That's and what you're looking for is somebody who's doing this, right? Because that's the guy controlling it. But also remember that the person doesn't need to be close by. The person can be further away. But yeah, if you see a drone flying around, I wouldn't. I'm trying to put the app up so people can see what's going on. But I keep forgetting my password to the app.
Well, see, that's a whole other show that we've got.
It's look, just assess the situation. If it's buzzing over your reception, then you've got a real situation there. you're probably dealing with an idiot, maybe somebody who's sponsoring the reception thinks I'm going to get some nice pictures of it, but is still doing it wrong. If you see a drone flying over people, you know that whoever is responsible for that drone is not doing the right thing.
So Joan has a great question. She says, so then do you go to venue security or to the police or the FAA or what? Like, what do you do then? So you find out that somebody's there. They shouldn't be there. They're doing something they shouldn't be doing. Then what?
Well, here, I'll talk about an experience in another event. So there is an event at Seafair, again, going back to, which is, it definitely has an FAA ban because the Blue Angels are flying. And it was funny, one of my friends who was trying to fly this event was trying to figure out, you know, what they were doing with it. When he started flying, all of the security had been briefed on this. So, of course, they all started chattering, radioing to each other, and, of course, trying to figure out the source from it. And luckily, I knew him so that when security came, I said, oh, we're bringing it down right now. We're so sorry, right? We actually got the wrong. He didn't know. He put it up. He put it up when I wasn't watching. I didn't know what was going on. But once I saw it was him, I'm like, oh, okay. Let me just surge this right now, which is comply, right? Yeah. And that's probably one of the better things to do around that. Obviously, not flying would have been the much better solution inside of here. But it's the same thing. I think that's the first point is like. Either security or your meeting planner or someone else like that. I've also watched some great videos of like all the technologies they have now to get, take down drones all the way from electric nets to eagles. Eagles trained in a foreign country can now take down a drone.
That's so crazy. Eagles we're going back.
Oh yeah. That's why. I mean, ISIS has been known and is using drones. I mean, not little Mavics, but no. Let me be more positive now. Drones are wonderful things in the hands of trained professionals who fly responsibly. They are the greatest thing, the greatest visual element you could add to anything that you're doing that way at your event. There is no question. And as long as you hire the right people, you are going to be fine.
So let's go there because I'm so glad you said that because Layla comments over here. She said, I'd be okay with drones bringing me snacks and food. So actually, let's go to the positive a little bit. Let's talk about the good things that can be done because we started out at the top and I said, well, what are some of the ways that people can be looking to use drones, that meeting planners, that association executives can be looking to use drones. We're specifically talking about events, meetings here, but in general, when somebody is looking to promote their event, to utilize it as a tool for organizational purposes, I mean, what are some of the more common ways you envision them being used more in the future? And I think I kind of asked this before, but I want to revisit that.
Yeah, I think the opening starts with video right now. It is probably, again, going back to the most powerful form. And I hope we have enough time to see we have about 13 minutes to close. But like I got 60 seconds I want to show you towards the end of this of like what's possible just even on the fun side. I also believe that the entertainment side has now shown its potential. Obviously, the last Super Bowl has really shown what can happen. And I've seen other demos of these computer-controlled drones. Yeah. Those are things that, like, 350 human pilots would take a lot of work to do, right? But it's something that is very possible and can be a gigantic wow factor, as well as promoting a certain brand or something else with that. I think, later on, though, one of the things is these visions that you have about drones flying indoors and all these other things is when we get to the level when we can trust the technology enough. Right.
And it's just not there. It's not there.
Of course not. I mean, like self-driving cars, not quite there yet, but maybe one day our kids will never know what it's like to drive a car. And so things like that would allow things like that. We've already seen champagne delivery, right, at hotels with drones. And like, even if it's a marketing stunt, it looks awesome enough to go viral. And so I think there are plenty of other situations, as well as here's one. I was in Tucson. We were filming the desert with a geology expert, and he finally realized that he could scan miles of square miles. He's looking for meteorites. That's his job. He goes, I never thought about using a drone for doing this. It's like a no-brainer. And so I hope that's one day is that, advances arts and sciences, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's terrifying for me, quite frankly, what the future is with these things. Is as the technology allows them to be smaller and smaller. I mean, these things, at some point could be the size of flies or mosquitoes, and in the world that we are going to, that kind of surveillance is absolutely terrifying. Drones in general, but for our purposes, how can a drone be a positive element to your association and to your show? Lots of wonderful ways, truly lots of wonderful ways. When you've got a big outdoor component to your show, nothing better than a tracking aerial shot over all that stuff, whatever it is, out in the parking lot. And truly, even in the trade show, I mean, no better platform to show the totality of that show, than using a drone. And there's no question that, if you're dealing with a big atrium and you got there's a lot of wonderful things. I mean, it is I'm doing this this reality show. It's a competition among various photographers that go into the destination, and I'm the drone guy. So I've got monster photographers, but I'm the drone guy because I think that it is, John said video, video, video. And when I started flying drones, that's all I thought, video, 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 until I started hitting it's a camera. It's a wonderful camera that gives you the most unique platform and position to be able to capture something that heretofore was not available. I shot this amazing picture of the Baltimore Convention Center in such a way, in such a place that you wouldn't have been able to get either a helicopter there, you wouldn't have been able to get a crane there, but I was able to fly the drone, and it is just a breathtaking shot of the convention center that shows what's around it. So no, I don't want anybody to be discouraged by this conversation. And what I hope that people take out of this is, my God, we need to start thinking drone, and we need to call John up or Chuck up, because these guys are the ones that, know how to do it. I'm not saying there aren't other people out there. I just don't know who they are.
Right.
So that's the biggest part of it all. As I've said,
has anyone consulted with you guys before, not just for shooting? And I hear the echo, so I'm sorry, everyone, but has anyone consulted with you guys about, these rules about drones at their events, or talk to you about, because a lot of the things that we've talked about here, I'm seeing people comment like, wow, shouldn't we have this listed someplace? Shouldn't this be included when people are signing up, when they're registering? Shouldn't we, And so it seems like that's something that association executives and definitely meeting planners need to be a little better educated in.
I went to Dubois a couple of years ago, and I said, hey, look, this is what I'm David Dubois of IAE. And I said, hey, I've got this idea, and I think we should all come together and create operating rules and regulations. And David was very positive, and he's a leader in security and all that sort of thing. It's wonderful, and no discredit today. Everybody's doing a million things, but no, I'm pretty well known as a drone guy. People, I post that stuff all the time. No one has ever come to me and said, wow, Chuck, help us. So, and I've gone to venues and said, I will be happy to consult with you in putting together sensible regulations. So again, hopefully the legacy, John, we'll talk offline, and maybe we can strategize and put forth some type of proposal to IAVM and all of that, because I don't want to get shut down. And I knew this was going to happen. When I went to Boston and they said no drones, I'm like, I knew this was going to happen. So
it's a bummer.
It's
a lost opportunity.
The client just lost that incredible shot that they can't get because people are like, we're not going to mess with them, shut it all down. I got it. There's an alternative to that, and hopefully John and I will be able to start something really cool out of this.
I love this idea.
Can I show this? can I show this one clip then before we head out?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Okay, here, I'm gonna hit the share screen on here. So, you know, you staying on this positive side, talking about what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
People have been talking about this video that's been on here, just because this video, I'll show you here in just a second, is what's possible with just a drone and an iPhone 7, right? Most of the equipment that we have. So this, for the setup for this, this is my friend Kathy. She is a TEDx expert, one of the top 58 Toastmasters in the world. Wow. And we just decided to do a lip sync video. So let me tell the lip sync video, and I'll tell you why this video is so important. So this lip sync video is to I Lived, the song I Lived. We use parody law, by the way, Chuck. And then it's featuring all the bridges in Portland because she has an open standing invitation. She'll walk any bridge in Portland with somebody. So just watch this last 60 seconds. Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, see if it'll start. Hold on. I was so close.
I know. And I'm really excited.
All right, hold on.
Did you hate it?
I get 10 points for the lead up. Okay, hold on a second. Let me try one last time again. Here we go.
All right.
PowerPoint. We love PowerPoint.
I know. Aaron's saying freaking technology.
It's 2017.
You can do the voiceover, Kiki.
Oh, yeah. This is so cool, though. I wish, you know, it wasn't as choppy on my side, but
there you go.
what great shots.
Let's see if you can get this last part.
Oh. So for the audio listeners, for the podcast listeners who are listening to this later and not able to see the images, look for the link. I'll include it in the show notes. You gotta give that to me, John. Wow. So there's an incredible amount of things that you can do that are creative. I mean, think about that. Think about the fact that you can, you know, think about, you know, parody. You can think about ways to create entertainment, ways to get super creative before your event even happens, where you're able to get some incredible shots. Incredible. Chuck's like, yes, incredible.
That big banner that you have outside of the convention center, you know, like for those who know the Orange County, you know, they put this big banner. And just to fly into it, it puts the goose pimples on you. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Chuck, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate it. All right, and John, thank you so much for being a guest today. I appreciate it so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Kiki. This was really fun. I love the number of comments here. I'll give you the other references, and I look forward to the Association of Drone Pilots that I'm pretty sure that Chuck and I are going to start.
I think it got started here on Association Chat, and I definitely want to be part of the story as it moves forward. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Where can people find you online, John?
Geoteaming, geoteaming.com. Again, geoteaming.com. Look specifically for the Geo blog. It has all of our videos and recent broadcasts like this are on it. So that's very, very informative, not only on the team building side, but of course the event professional side.
All right. Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. And everybody, I have to say, what did you think about today's show? Absolutely incredible. So much to think about. And I definitely think that I have to learn something new about, you know, flying drones. Maybe I have to go get a license. I don't know. I have to look into it. I'm going to have to call those guys up. I think it's definitely something that we all need to look into a little bit more, because even going into this and reading about it, I don't think articles out there are giving us the full picture of all of the concerns and about regulations and dangers. And I mean, my gosh, in an age where we're worried about people slipping outside of our homes, drones, like what are we going to be doing with this? So anyway, I love it. I think there's a lot of promise there. It's really fascinating for me. Look, next week, we're going to be talking about another related topic, and it's inspired by a blog post I read by Adrian Seeger, who's on the chat today, titled "The Meeting Industry's Dirty Little Secret." I know, it sounds steamy. And this is not talking about eco-friendly tableware. I can tell you that. It should be really, really interesting. So I hope that you'll register to participate in that next week. For all of you, thank you. Thank you for joining us today on Association Chat with John Chen, and with our additional guest who joined us to add a few words. Chuck Fazio, he has an episode all to himself. Look for Orca in the title, to talk about the true drone wars that are out there. As a reminder, you can always catch each week's live episode as an audio podcast on iTunes, on Google Play, and on Stitcher. And until next time, everyone, keep asking questions to learn every day. As Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. I'll see you next week, everyone. Bye, guys. Bye.